question might be asked, what is research and why do we do it here as faculty members at Rhodes College? Research is an act of discovering and creating knowledge, which means that part of what we do is we don't simply read what other scholars have already written on a subject, but we try to probe more deeply than that, so that when we read something that has been written by someone else, we're asking the sorts of questions as to what more might be there, or what more could be said, or how could we go deeper. And the process then of trying to go deeper is the process of doing research on your own. And that's something that Rhodes faculty do, and that's something that I've been able to do here over the last several years. And this is basically what it is that we ask our students to do. So in other words, we try to model the process of doing research for our students because, for example, in history, all of our history majors have to take 3 400-level research seminars where we actually want them to dive into the primary sources, into sources from archives or sources from online archives, and to use those sources in the same way that scholars use them, to try to interpret them, to try to analyze them, to try to think about them in new and different ways from how other scholars have. And so we try to model this act of doing academic research for our students, and then we push them to do that same thing. So research then shapes how I teach a course, in the sense that I'm not only using textbooks that have been written by other authors, but that I'm able to use some of the scholarship that I've written, some of the books and articles that I've had an opportunity to write. So I ask students to read some of the work that I've done, and then, as I said, we ask the same thing from them. And so it's interesting then to think about how research and teaching fit with each other, in that my research helps me to be a better teacher, but also my teaching helps me to be a better scholar, in the sense that when I teach a class and I'm forced to synthesize a lot of information, and I listen to my students, they ask me questions and they help me to think about things in new and different ways. And that then helps me as a scholar to go back to those things that I've already read and to think about them differently and to ask those new sorts of questions that students have brought to the forefront. Having a chance to teach such exceptional students here has helped me to be a better scholar. So I think really that teaching and research go hand in hand, and that's what we try to do here at Rhodes College. There are some really outstanding scholars at research universities, but frankly, some of them don't teach very many undergraduates because they spend all of their time doing research. And there are some really wonderful teachers at some small colleges all over the country, but many of them don't spend much time doing research. The wonderful thing about Rhodes is that we, as scholars and teachers, do both of those things. Rhodes is an institution that's focused on excellence both in teaching and research for its faculty. So that means that when students come to Rhodes, they have an opportunity to study under faculty members who are experts in their field and who have national reputations in their fields. And that's what makes the Rhodes experience truly extraordinary.